Hello and welcome everyone to another episode here at the Women's MTB Network. Today we're bringing you a long-term review of the Cannondale Moterra SL. It's a full power e-bike weighing in at 43 pounds or 19.5 kilos. And it was a super fun bike to do a long-term review on over the last 5.5 months. So let's get into it. So it's the end of the day, we're pedaling up. I'm in the red. My battery is in the red. I just hope the battery doesn't run out before I get to the top. First and foremost, shout out to the Newbury Park Bike Shop. They are my local bike shop here in Southern California. They are also a Cannondale dealer, and they were able to collaborate with us in Cannondale to receive the bike, build it, let me go pick it up and have the experience as if it was a bike for me. For like new bike day, it was really cool. If you're in the area, go check out the crew over at Newbury Park Bike Shop. They also do services of any kind of bike that you have. They have a full range of gear, a bunch of different bikes, and some really good stuff. So go check them out. This is not a plug. I'm not being paid for this. This is also a good segue to say that I'm also not getting paid or I'm not sponsored by Cannondale for this review. The folks were just real kind enough to send us the bike and let us keep it for a while so that we could bring you this review. I've had a few women reach out wanting us to get our take on the Moterra SL in a small size, so it's been a super fun bike to ride. We also do not get paid for any other review we have done here at the network. It's purely our perspective on the gear and the bikes that we work with brands with, so we're very grateful for that. So now into the bike. The Cannondale Moterra SL is 43 pounds or 19.5 kilos. I demoed the small mulleted bike, which means it's 29-inch wheels in the front and 27.5 inch in the back. And the weight is equivalent to most lightweight e-bikes that you see out on the market. You can check out the Santa Cruz Heckler SL. We also did a review on that here. And the Specialized Levo SL Expert Carbon, there's that review here. So those were e-bikes, but they're lightweight e-bikes, meaning that they have half the battery power than the full power of the Cannondale Moterra SL that we're gonna be talking about today. So much fun was had on this bike. You guys, I put this thing to the test. I rode it at bike parks. I did steeps, descents, and climbs. I did switchbacks, and I'll get into that because I have a love-hate relationship with switchbacks. I did chunk. I actually did some really steep stuff with this. And the bike like stood its test. As Cannondale puts it on their website, full power fun meets lightweight agility. And that was actually pretty accurate, I'd say. So let's get into first impressions. The bike is incredibly responsive. This is an almost full carbon bike, so the frame and the cockpit and everything was full carbon, the cranks. The only thing that wasn't full carbon was the aluminum, the alloy wheels. And the stiff frame on this carbon bike made the bike really snappy and agile. It responded immediately to any pedaling and maneuvering that I did. It was really quick.
Right off the bat, the responsiveness with this bike, I feel it's way more nimble, way more comfortable doing little jumps, drops.
It's also super nimble. It was easy to get the wheel off the ground, as evident by the time that I had to jump over a snake that was lying in the middle of the trail, and it gave me a quick rush of a heart attack.
Did you see the snake?
It has a really long-lasting motor being a full power e-bike, and also the weight was really amazing. It was really good. It didn't feel like a full power e-bike. The geometry fit me perfectly at 5'4.5", and I have a 30-inch inseam. So yeah, we'll go into the geo as well. The reach was really great. The standover was fine. The wheelbase was actually really good for me for a small bike. And also it came with some pretty high-end components. You've got some Fox Kashima components. You've got the SRAM T-type transmission wireless, and we'll get into that a little later on. All right, so let's get into the performance for this bike. There's no secret that when you're on a bike that fits you well, you're confident in it, your riding just completely boosts and shines, and you have way more fun. This was absolutely the case with this bike for me. Having demoed and ridden a few e-bikes now, the Moterra SL really gave me the confidence to tackle anything I rode. Like, I did some chunk loose rock, like steep descents and climbs, and I did take a spill. You're gonna see it here. Why am I going down the ruts?
I'm okay.
Yeah, I took a little spill. That was my bad, not the bike's bad. But the bike held up really well. And even in that steep spill that I took, I didn't feel like the bike landed on me and it was heavy, because it wasn't. That just wasn't the case. So I didn't feel like, oh crap, I'm gonna have this like heavy e-bike on me. That wasn't the case.
I didn't even see you fall. I just saw front tire in the air and then your ass. And I wasn't sure if you were on your back with your ass up or if you were standing up.
Okay, so descending on this bike, this is where the bike for me really shined. The bike descending, it's incredibly fast and maneuverable. It's playful yet stable. It's agile, yet it keeps you grounded. Like, you know, you can throw it into a corner, you can pop it off a feature, you can let it rip, and the bike just comes alive when you're heading down a descent. Because the bike is lighter, like an equivalent to a lightweight e-bike, it didn't feel sluggish. It responded better than a heavy full power other bike. I know that sounds weird because this is a full power e-bike, but it's just not heavy. So my point is that even though it's a full power e-bike, it handled like a lightweight e-bike. So whether I was doing switchbacks, tight switchbacks, descending on those, or some flowy trails, or even some sandy trails, I still felt pretty planted on the bike. And I didn't have to focus too much on the elements around it. I could really just focus on my riding. You know, I didn't have to focus on how's the bike gonna respond to this, and it gave me that confidence to just really tackle anything that I wanted to. So I'm gonna touch on the switchbacks real quick, because this is a really big topic for me, and I'm not sure if y'all can relate. If you can, please let me know. I'd love to have this conversation. I've heard from a lot of women that tight switchbacks on 29-inch bikes, especially shorter women, can be a little challenging. And I can understand that, because I've had that issue many times where I just can't do it, right? I can't swing it out. It's too tight, the wheel's too big, or the bike is too long. That was not the problem here. And there's two parts to that. One, my skill level improved. One, I took a lesson with Sierra, who is a coach, former downhill racer, and she really showed me, like physically showed me how I'd be able to conquer the switchbacks. And I did that on both the bikes we were demoing that day, but with the Moterra, I didn't feel like I was maneuvering a full power e-bike. It didn't feel heavy. It felt stable, it felt planted, but I was able to maneuver it in a way that I just felt really happy that I conquered it.
I'm so proud of myself.
So I've only been really able to do this on two other bikes, which are analog bikes, and they feel a little lighter, so I felt like I was able to maneuver a little bit better, but the switchbacks, the Cannondale handled it perfectly. The bike also comes equipped with some Fox components, right? And it handled the technical descents like a dream. It soaks up any kind of root or rock effortlessly. And that, combining with the stable geometry of the frame and the Groupie Max's tires, descending made it just handled really well. Like, descending on it was an amazing experience. So in talking about the handling and the descents, one of the key points, aside from the switchbacks, that I really enjoyed, it almost begs you to go a little faster, lean a little harder, and just really let go on the bike, which I did. And you can see that I was having so much fun that day we rode over the snake that I wasn't even thinking about my huge fear of snakes that I have on the trail, because I've ran over a rattlesnake once before. that's a story for another day. But when I got to the bottom of that hill, I felt so confident. I just saw the snake last minute and I bunny hopped over it. Turned out that it was not a rattler, it was a gopher, but still I didn't want to hurt the snake, right? So the 5.5 months I rode this bike in the descents, absolutely loved it. That was my favorite part of riding, was putting this thing through steep descents. All right, let's talk climbing. Surprisingly fun climbing on this bike. It made like some really tough climbs feel really approachable. Like, yes, that includes the dreaded switchbacks that I was telling you all about, but also encouraged me to do some steeper, looser climbs, including the one that I fell on, because I felt that the way the bike kept you grounded allowed me to do anything that I wanted as I was climbing. So climbing didn't really feel like a chore on this bike. It felt effortless. Yes, it's an e-bike and I get it. You can change the settings to whichever way you want, but it really did feel effortless on this bike. When I was doing switchbacks, I felt like it was really playful. At one point, I even got a little wheelie as I was on the switch bike. Yes! Yes!
And let your bike come. Let the bike go up on that thing a little bit. Yes?
Woo! And that was really interesting for me. And I learned that you can do wheelies on e-bikes. It's way easier to do wheelies on e-bikes. One of the first things I noticed when climbing on the Moterra SL was the traction that you get from it. You know, the combination of the Maxxis tires and Cannondale's proportional response suspension, the rear wheel was glued to the ground without losing any traction. And to me, that was a real game changer because in Southern California, we have a lot of loose, sandy, dusty trails. So having a bike that gave me confidence to climb on those loose, sandy terrains was a complete game changer for me. The bike comes equipped with the Cannondale tuned Shimano motor, and the torque on that motor provides just the right amount of assist without overpowering your effort. So it was smooth, intuitive, and it gave me the confidence to tackle the climbs that I did every single time without feeling like I was spinning out. So geometry really plays a big role in climbing here, well, and descending too, but in climbing, I wanted to really talk about it because this bike had tube angle and the length of the chainstay helped keep me centered over the pedals and over the center gravity of the bike. And you know, when I would lift my butt off and I would climb and pull myself closer to the handlebars, like everything stayed centered to where my back wheel wasn't spinning out. And that was really important because I have a hard time with that. And I spin out a lot when we're on loose gravel here. So the Moterra SL really is more than capable on climbs. If you're grinding up a steep fire road, which you can see I did that, although it was paved road right before I lost battery. We'll talk about that in a second. Or if you're tackling the switchbacks, like the bike was just really efficient, balanced, and it made climbing just as enjoyable as the descents. Well, no, I lied. It made climbing enjoyable. The descents was more enjoyable than the climbing. So let's talk about the motor and the battery that comes on this bike. So the Moterra SL is the first 150 mil travel lightweight e-bike that has 85 Newton meters of torque and a 600 watt battery into a machine that gives it a weight of 43 pounds. We drained this battery. We really did drain this battery to the end, and I was kind of scared a little bit because we still had about half a mile to climb out, and it got pretty steep in this section of the road.
At the end of the day, we're pedaling up to get out of this section. I'm in the red. My battery is in the red. I just hope the battery doesn't run out before I get to the top. I'm gonna try and put it in the 3rd out of 4, see how I do. Gonna actually have to use my muscles and my legs to get up here. But yeah, I'm kind of scared, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of scared I'm gonna run out of juice.
We made it, literally 1% battery, like 1% battery to the car. But we drained it. We drained the battery in 2 days, but we had it in eco a lot. So that really helps keep the battery, preserve the battery. The motor's responsiveness means you can really modulate your speed perfectly, avoiding like the dreaded over and undershoot, which is pretty cool. There are 4 different levels of boosts on this bike, and you can change it either on the down tube or the handle. Or the little remote that's on the handlebars. So it helps you adjust things on the fly as you go. You can get maximum range of power if you want to. If you don't feel like pedaling, you just want to boost it, you can. Or if you want a little bit of a challenge, you can easily bring it back down to the eco mode. The display is really good. There's a little tiny display that you see on the right-hand side, like near the stem of the bike. And it reads out everything that you need. Like you've got your speedometer, you've got your range, you've got how far you've done on that one trip, overall miles. There's a lot of really cool features that you can change on the spot too, so you can see how you're doing. So the geometry on this bike was really cool. As I was saying, it's a mulleted 29er. Mulleted 29er. God, I'm really killing it with this review today. So the geometry was really good. It's a mulleted bike. It's 29 in the front, 27.5 in the rear. It's 160 mil of travel in the front and 150 mil of travel in the rear. I was demoing the small frame. The geometry felt really great. And the standover was good. It's a little bit right there for me. So when I was climbing, it didn't really feel like an issue. I could get off the bike really easily. The wheelbase really was ideal. While there's no extra small frame option, I did have a friend of mine who's 5'1" sit over the bike, and she rode it, she liked it, she didn't like the standover. It really was not comfortable for her, and when she would stand over it, the seat was digging onto her back, which is again not something that's ideal either. Even when we pulled the seat back a little bit, it wasn't great for her. So for a smaller rider, 5'1", she wasn't super keen on it. So here's some important geometry numbers that I think most women would like to know about. And you can also find all this information on Cannondale's website. But the standover was 738 millimeters, the reach was 420, and the wheelbase was 1220. So a little bit longer than some of the other bikes that we've demoed. Shorter on the reach, and longer on the wheelbase. And like I've said in previous bike videos, bike sizing really is 100% personal preference. You know, there are shorter riders that enjoy a bigger bike because of the stability of the wheelbase. And there are riders that like smaller bikes because they want something that's more nimble. So I just highly recommend you go to a dealer if you're interested in this bike and see if you can, you know, put your leg over it, ride it a little bit, even if it's in the parking lot, so you can kind of get a feel for it. Some bike shops will allow you to demo it out for a day or an hour or two, so take advantage of that if that's the case in your local area. All right, so let's get into the components of this bike because it really has some amazing components on here. We demoed the build that is the SL1, light, durable, full carbon mulleted bike. It comes with SRAM's EXO T-Type AXS transmission, wireless 12-speed shifting, plus E13 race carbon cranks. The bike we demoed had SRAM brakes on it. Now Cannondale advertises that it comes with Magura's MT7s. I haven't tried Magura's, so if you have, leave a comment below. What do you think? It also comes with Cannondale's proprietary dropper post and carbon cockpit. The handlebar is carbon. First time for me actually using carbon handlebars. It was really neat. And what I liked about it is that I felt it reduced vibration with a carbon handlebar. So I don't know if that's in general something that carbon handlebars do. Like I said, it's my first time. If you guys know the difference, please let me know. I'm super curious to know about that between alloy and carbon handlebars. It's got Fox suspension on there. So you got Fox factory 36 fork and a factory float X rear shock. It has the flex pivot frame with proportional response suspension kinematics, which is something proprietary to Cannondale. The motor is the Shimano EP801 custom high energy intensity 600 watt internal battery with DT Swiss XM 1700 wheels, alloy, like I was saying earlier. It's like the one thing on the bike that isn't carbon. Oh, lastly, it comes with some Maxxis tires on there, which felt really grippy and absolutely amazing for the terrain that I ride in. So for the price and the value, this bike, Cannondale is not a bike that sells directly to consumer. They work with a ton of retailers across the country and across the world, so I highly suggest you go on their website to find someone closest to you. But being that the New Brew Bike Shop is my closest shop, I went on their website and I scoped it out. And with the build that we had, the SL1, the price varies between $7,500 to $8,000 for that one particular build. I think it would depend on the shop you went to as well. Their lab build which I think is like fully carbon, fully wireless everything, including a dropper post, all of the amazingness, goes for about $12,000. And then they also have the SL2, which I believe comes with Shimano drivetrain, still another really great option. And that one retails at the Newbury Park Bike Shop for $6,300. So you still have some really cool options depending on what kind of components you want the bike to have. A couple cons that I found was one, the battery is really loud. I think I said that earlier. And also the saddle. The saddle is just not conducive for most females, I found. I've had a few other friends sit on it. They were not comfortable, neither was Sierra. So because I had a long-term review, I ended up using a different saddle for the last like 3 months of the bike. That's just standard, unfortunately, with every bike that you get now. You're gonna have, if you're a woman, you're gonna end up changing the saddle more often than not. Lastly, there was a bit of a rattle noise that I was hearing on the bike, and I kept thinking like something was loose, like the fork or connection. There was something loose in there. I took it to the bike shop and they determined that there was nothing wrong with the bike. It was just a cable on the inside that was rattling. Wouldn't be a detriment either, but I know some folks aren't fans of that. So if you buy the bike, please make sure that your mechanic or whoever is building it secures wires and things so it doesn't bother you. The app for this bike is really robust. Cannondale does an amazing job for it. It shows you everything from all of the rides that you've done, but you can also fit all of your information for your bike in there. You can add your saddle height, your handlebar width, your saddle angle, like so that you have all that data in the bike in case something changes. You can go back to it and know where it is. It's got videos on basic bike maintenance. It lists all the components and everything about the bike. It shows you the servicing, when they expect you should be servicing the bike. So I found it's really robust, and you can record your rides on the app itself, which was super cool. I tried it a couple times and it worked pretty well. One other thing that it does is it can connect to your Bluetooth devices like your Whoop, or your Apple Watch or your Garmin or whatever it is that you are wearing. So my final thoughts on this bike, y'all. This bike rips. This bike was incredibly fun on the descents and the climbs. It's nimble, fast, responsive, it's lightweight, combined with some of the killer components that it comes with. The motor, the Geo, I found it to be one of the funnest bikes that I've demoed so far. I highly recommend you demo it. Do you own the bike? Have you ridden it? Like, please let me know in the comments. This is one of the most highly anticipated bikes that folks have asked us to review. So I hope it's answered some of your questions. If not, leave a comment below, email us, DM us on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe and like. Share this with all of your friends, people. We're trying to grow out subscribers. So yeah. Hope you all have a great one, and we'll see you in the trail.